What is up, y'all? Welcome back. I finally figured out that I can rig my microphone up to my ring light instead of my camera. Hopefully it helps a little bit with the echo issues. Anyway, y'all, today we are going to be playing with new makeup for the first time in 2024 and I'm very excited about it. I also took questions on my Instagram. Actually, I asked y'all, I was like, what are we talking about today? And I've taken a little peek to see what we're talking about today, and it looks pretty unhinged and I'm excited about it. So the stuff that we're gonna be talking about today, makeup wise, we're just gonna go through it real quick. I have been teasing the heck out of this because I got it towards the end of the year last year, and then I got into all my roundups and all my declutters and everything, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it yet. So Mob Beauty sent me a bunch of like beautiful cool toned things, and so this is the previous palette that I had picked the colors out, and I love this, but I'm excited to try out some new ones from them today. I also got some other stuff in the mail from them. I got some powder, which I've used once. I think I liked it, but we'll see. And then I got some stuff from YSL. YSL sends me stuff occasionally, and I really enjoyed this month's little package because it had this new Touche Éclat blur primer in it, which is not something I would typically be drawn to because I think that is like mattifying, but it's not. It's just blurring, and look at it. It's sparkly. So I'm gonna be using that today, probably some of the YSL Skin Tint. Got a new tube of the Kosas here, the concealer. And finally, we're gonna be talking about these. These are the new Gucci lip glosses. I've already tried them and I have my thoughts together, but it requires a demonstration, okay? So that's happening. I hope you're excited. Let's go ahead and jump in. My phone is on the floor. When I was setting up, I apparently wrapped my phone charger around my tripod, and if I had just yanked, everything would have fallen down. All right, so I'm pretty sure that this is fragranced, and pretty much everything from YSL is. Yes, that is quite fragranced. If you can see the little sparkly bits in there. I have no idea whether they actually like influence the final appearance. By the way, I painted a room blue today, so I did my best to scrub it out of my nails, but unfortunately, I blew myself. Yeah, I'm gonna just start with that amount and see where we get. See if we get some nice blurring from it. Blur is something that's going to be very difficult to pick up on camera. Yeah, that's actually all you need. It's super silicone-y, goes really far. Makes your skin feel really, really smooth, like velvety. That's kind of wild. Ooh, I like it. I used it one time in a reel and I liked it then too, but I'm having my memory refreshed on the feeling of it. It's very nice. You kind of do want to keep petting your face. It's got a really nice feeling to it. So, I mean, yeah, you're gonna see some little tiny glitters because they're not going anywhere. You know, you see it when you swatch it, you see it in the bottle. It is what it is. So, I mean, I guess it being a primer, and they're very dispersed. There are actually very few of them, but if that bugs you, then be aware that there are little gold things in this, little tiny sparkles, but I am not bothered by it. I think that it's cute. And if anybody's that close to you to notice it, they probably like you well enough that they don't care there's glitter on your face, you know? Okay, I've been going so light on complexion lately because of perioral dermatitis and things like that. This is not new. It is new, but it's not new to me in the sense that I have tried this, I know that I like it, and this is in the shade New 1, and I enjoy it. I do like to just take a little bit of it, since it's a good shade match, and just pat that in. And it feels really good over that blurring primer. Kosas did also send me a sponge, so I think I will go in with a brand new sponge here. This is also fragranced, but I think it smells good. It's not offensive at all. I think it's like really pleasant. Ooh, did y'all see that Prada is confirmed, like already on the Sephora website? And I'm not sure if they're like quote unquote in stock yet, but you can sort of see the way that Sephora does it, where they show all the foundations, but they say that they're out of stock, or you know, they're not there yet. So y'all will be able to at least order it off of the Sephora website soon. Hopefully they will have better swatches and obviously a better shopping experience than the Prada website itself did, because it was just really hard to tell and hard to get a shade match. So also, hopefully they will have some kind of very big bay in your local Sephora so that you can actually go and get shade matched, because that was the big humdinger I've been watching too much Paw Patrol. That was kind of the big hang up of anyone being interested in that foundation, was they were like, it's a big buy-in for me to not know what shade I am kind of thing. So that's a different finish than you get from that skin tint. The primer actually makes a really big difference. Like, this is a Tom kind of product, Haute Mess Tom or like Kelly Gooch. Someone who likes blur but doesn't necessarily want or need a ton of mattification. Like, Tom doesn't want to mattify their skin, but they do love blur. And Kelly does like to mattify her skin, but she has dry skin naturally, and so she doesn't need a ton of actual like oil control. I feel like it's just kind of a modern take on something being this blurring, because it doesn't look powdered, you know? It just has a really pleasant kind of slightly more satin texture. And I also might just be enchanted by how it feels. Like, when you touch it on your fingers, it's very appealing feeling. All right, I've used the concealer from Kosas a gazillion times, so this is a good time to take a little prompt from y'all. Let's see what we're talking about today. Okay, I get a lot of questions about this, and this is really quick. The art course. Everybody's like, what art course did you take? By the way, yeah, you can follow me at Kackie Carmody on Instagram. That's my art account. I sell my paintings. I am an online creator / fine artist. So if you are ever interested in my art, that is, I'll put the handle on the screen. But yeah, what kicked me off on doing abstract versus kind of what I had focused on previously in art school, which was a little bit more realism. I did some abstract, but I would always like screen print over it and stuff, but to actually like have the confidence to focus exclusively on abstract, and something that I truly enjoy. I really enjoy doing abstract painting. It was the Artify has changed their name. I think that's the other reason people are having a hard time hunting it down. It used to be called Artify, and now it's just called Ari, A-R-I-E. And they have a course by an artist named Celia Lees. Her course is called Be Bold. And it's just a quick and dirty. I mean, it's not like super quick, but like, it's like 40 bucks and you get a really good view into an artist's process. I think that that's really valuable to be able to see, I don't know, just like someone else's thought process and a cross section of their creative process, so that you can look at your own process and be like, oh, okay, like I'm not really doing anything wrong. And that there isn't as much opportunity or as much like danger of doing something wrong as you think there is. You're just like, I'm putting paint on canvas. Am I doing this wrong? It's like you watch someone else do it and you watch a really good outcome come from it and you're like, I'm not doing this wrong. I just haven't gotten where I'm going yet, kind of thing. And then you feel a little bit more emboldened to play. Hence the name of the course being Be Bold. So there you go. But yeah, since then I've followed Celia Lees. I like her art, and I've also followed Artify, which again is now Ari, and they expose you to a lot of really cool abstract artists, and so I've, you know, gotten inspired in that respect as well. So highly recommend. I need a little bit of extra coverage on this zit that won't quit, y'all. I don't know what her deal is. I'm gonna do one of those. Maybe the powder will help, but my goodness, y'all. You'll have to pardon me because I work my way through so much makeup. Sometimes when I have my memory refreshed on something, everybody else is like, really, Kackie? Like, you forgot? Yeah, I forgot how nice that Kosas concealer is. I feel kind of bad about it because it's like, you know, you're just like, yeah, it's good. I definitely recommend it, but like, I forgot exactly how like flattering and lovely it is and how much it doesn't like to crease. It's fantastic. Okay, so let's jump into this little cool toned palette here. My face is looking quite pale, so we are probably going to dip into the other one as well, you know, get kind of bronzed up a little bit, just bring some life back to my face. But I want to show these in their trueness here, and I didn't realize this, but this is actually a powder blush and a cream blush. So I'm gonna swatch here because I don't know if this is kind of like a Patrick Ta situation where it's like, oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at that powder. It doesn't even look that beige in the pan. It looks like it's kind of a nice little complement to the mauve next to it, but it is beige. That is pretty. I'm gonna start with that. I didn't know that that was the route that I was going to go, but I was gonna say it's kind of like the Patrick Ta blush duos where you start with a powder and then you go with the cream on top, and you have to be a little bit careful when you do it. But I think that this is a sophisticated enough cream formula for Mob Beauty that we can get away with it. So let's try it. Okay, so this is the shade. Oh, it does say bronzer on it. I'm new here. No, yeah, that's apparently a bronzer. Does that look like that is a really, I'm sorry, I'm speechless. Like, that's a really interesting color for bronzer, and I should be more impressed. I should have been more impressed this whole time that that's a bronzer. That is M36, the bronzer. So let's go. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. We have to swatch this against the Gucci bronzer because that is super similar. Yes, it's taking pretty hard on my cheeks because I didn't put any powder down. It is what it is, y'all. But I always end up putting more on at the end anyway. Hopefully we're just kind of saving ourselves the trouble. But my goodness, as a bronzer, I just love the guts of, you know, calling that a bronzer, because it's definitely like a beige nude blush. That's really pretty. Hang on, let me grab the Gucci. Wow. This is the Mob Beauty and that's the Gucci. It makes the Gucci look downright peach. Huh, that's phenomenal. Not because I can't use the Gucci, but because there are people out there like Hannah who, I don't know, she can wear the Gucci bronzer, but like there are shades that just blow my mind in terms of how fantastically like desaturated and neutral they are. And Hannah Louise Poston will put them on her face and they turn up straight orange, you know, and it's just like, oh, well, there you go, color theory, right? So it's like that pale desaturated, you know, olive undertone skin tone can only tolerate so much in terms of like a bronzer that's actually effective. And like, I just wanted to show y'all, it's kind of like a special color in terms of what I would even call a bronzer. I would really call it more of like a fair nude blush, like a fair beige blush, but I love that they're selling it as a bronzer. That's really, really pretty. Oh, by the way, this is on the BK 104. Can y'all tell I'm a little out of practice? Like I've just been doing declutters and honestly, like I just took some time off over the holidays. So yeah. Oh, the formula is great though. Like I just kind of mindlessly build it and I think it just does a really nice job. It does. It's just like very easy to work with, especially on top of, you know, not necessarily like a dewy situation because we do have that blurring primer on, but not a powdered situation. You know, like a powder could have grabbed and made me look like a fool. I will say, that's kind of cool though, on the part of the YSL primer, how it made everything kind of set down more that I put on top of it. So it was more amenable to putting powder right on top of it because it was already kind of a satin texture. I think that that's kind of neat. So that's my bronzer. That's my bronzer. And I'm going to go in with the M72 cream blush here. I'm just gonna put that on my sponge on the other end. And yeah, this is just a really lovely little mauve color. I wanna make sure it's really nice and evenly distributed on the sponge before I just start pounding it onto my cheeks because we get ourselves in trouble. Ooh, it's cool. It's like cool. Huh. So we're gonna go in a cool direction on my eyes today then. They also sent this like black lip balm, which a lot of brands are doing that. You know, Isomea has one and Finding Ferdinand obviously has one and like, you know, Elf put one out. Okay, when you blend it out, it's positively gorgeous. I mean, are we surprised that I love a color story and a formula from Mob Beauty? Because they watched my video, you know, and I feel like they know my likes well enough that when they put this together, they were like, this is gonna knock her socks off. Like these are some special colors. But I really do feel like they know what they're doing. Like I'm just very impressed across the board. It's been my kind of like capsule makeup, you know? Okay, so yes, I bronzed and I blushed, but I still feel like my complexion, no fault of Mob's, is a different color than my neck. And so I do want to go in with the other bronzer that I have from Mob Beauty, which is their cream bronzer in the shade M80. And so let's see, this is, you know, like I said, a cream, and it is much different. You can see. It's still cool tone, but it's not as lavender. Like this is the powder right here. It's so lavender. So hopefully I can kind of warm-ish. I don't want to warm. I don't want to go super warm. I actually got a really great question from a viewer of mine a couple days ago about how to match your bronzer with your blush. And I think that they should match each other for temperature. You know, I think that like you shouldn't go for like a super warm bronzer and then a super cool blush will make your cheeks look like they're receding. But if you go for a super cool bronzer and a super warm blush, it's gonna make you look like you put contour on as bronzer. And so it's just like trying to recognize, you know, in your bronzer collection and your blush collection, or if you're just buying one of each, to, you know, focus on like, is it warm, is it neutral, is it cool? So anyway, this will be relatively warm compared to the mauve bronzer I just put on. And that will help me kind of warm things up, but it also acts as a really nice bronzer. This is what happened the last time that I had Mop Beauty in a video, because everything is all in one. What I end up doing is like that video, I was like, I'm gonna review a bunch of stuff. And then it just ended up being a Mop Beauty video because I was like, well, they kind of just solved it all for me. But no, I'm gonna go in with some different like eyeshadows. Again, we have some lips to talk about. I ordered some stuff from Hermes too. I ordered the eyeshadow quad and the lip gloss and the bronzer. I mean, they say it's a powder, but I think it's a bronzer. So tell you what, that Kosas does not want to cover that blemish under my nose right there. It just doesn't want to. So I will have to touch that up a little bit later. So there were instructions when I opened this on how to use this and like how to properly use it, like interact with the packaging. And I already forgot how, but we'll see if I have any issues with it. It's just a little bit unusual because it's in cardboard. So, you know, all the Mop Beauty stuff outside of the actual, you know, reusable, refillable palettes is in cardboard. So like the cardboard lipstick cases and everything like that. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this loose powder. Ooh, how about a Singe Beauty brush? Singe Beauty just sent me a bunch of brushes. That's Angelica Nyqvist's brand. And this is the F07. They came out with a bunch of new stuff. So I will just do what I typically do. And that is just powder basically where I don't want the light to reflect. It's not a huge deal because we did go in with the blurring primer this time, which is not something that I typically do, but honestly, it's something that I would absolutely do in the future because it's a different texture than my typical makeup, but it doesn't feel drying. It doesn't feel tight. So it kind of saves me some trouble, and then I can put in like dewiness after the fact. I feel like it's a really good match for the Mop Beauty stuff because it's cream that is actually really sophisticated. It performs really well. It doesn't start to kind of get warm and oily on your skin, and so that primer interacts with it really beautifully. And I'm just left with this texture on my skin that's very balanced looking. You know, it's like really even. It just looks like skin in a good way. Oh, that's right. They said to twist it. That's the main thing, to not yank it, but to twist it. I think that was the instruction. Anyway, I don't feel like that's any kind of compromise in terms of packaging. I mean, you know, does it feel like luxury? Not necessarily. Like, I would love it if they actually had a forever component that this could be a refill for. Like, that would be cool. But as it is, it's a really nice looking powder. Like really nice and brightening looking, super finely milled, but not like grabbing on things. It's not looking super mattified, which is what happens sometimes with really finely milled powders is they actually go like HD and just cling and then they stiffen. And this doesn't seem to be like an oil control powder in that sense, which is nice for me. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to put on the Gucci lip gloss in Suzanne Brown, which is the one that I had been lusting after. And I'm going to let it sit on my lips. Looks like Charlotte Tilbury. I'm gonna let it sit on my lips while we take some questions or prompts or whatever and do my eyeshadow, because it's time that matters on this, okay? And I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just gonna let it do its thing. So anyway, this is the brown, quote unquote, you know, and it looks quite pink to me, but I also got the clear, which, you know, we'll discuss, but I don't think you need a demonstration of the clear necessarily. This is a little bit more important. So one thing, the wand doesn't seem to pull a ton of product out, and you kind of have to push to get the product on to your lips. It's not bad. Like, it's not a bad experience, but it is a little bit unique in that sense because it's a really bendy wand. And then the formula itself kind of reminds me of the old one from Givenchy before they reformulated it. It's thick, you know, and that makes it feel like it's gonna be really tenacious. And like, look how beautiful that color is. It's really, really beautiful, but do not leave the video yet. I promise there's a plot twist. So there is that. And what's beautiful about it is that you get a really even amount of color. A lot of times a colored lip gloss, the more you put on, the more it builds and then it looks uneven. And that's definitely not the case with this because the formula is so thick, but I feel like when they photographed the models doing the swatches, they photographed it right now. They did not let it linger on their lips because it's spicy. It's tingly, it's gingery, I think, and also it's got capsaicin in it, and you're gonna watch the results of it, okay? So I also have footage of me wearing it earlier the first time that I put it on, and I will show my reaction to that, you know, when we're all said and done, because it was funny. But anyway, let's do a little eye look here, and we're gonna use the, I don't know, should we use these weird little creams from Mob Beauty? And then, whoa, what? I don't know. Those are cream eyes. Like, what do they do? Whoa, IDK. I'm not gonna use that lavender one today because that's just not where we're at, but maybe I'll use the kind of brown one as our primer, and then we can just kind of mindlessly go in with some other things while we talk about some of y'all's stuff. I don't want to not have a chat, you know? Okay, so this is nice. This is kind of a New Year's thing, but I like the tone of it. So craving change without the toxic woo-woo wellness resolutions. I love this. So like, yeah, there's wellness resolutions for sure. And I think that like most of that is predatory in terms of, look at that. That is really pigmented and beautiful. Wow. And that was M114. Obviously, you know, anybody who is around my age, 10 years one way or the other, you know, and older, we've all seen enough growing up to know that like everybody is being preyed upon right now this time of year by like diet companies and everybody being like, don't you want to make a fresh start? Give us your money, you know? And I'll tell you what I did to make a fresh start. It was not really intended to be about the new year. It was just kind of the way that the chips fell in my life. This just keeps going and going. Yes, it does. I'm going to grab a brush. So I have one of my favorite cream brushes here. This is the Angie Hot and Flashy A501. I don't think that this is going to set down. I think that this is just gonna stay creamy, and so I'm going to kind of blend it as well as I can. I might end up kind of taking some off because I do want to be able to put powders down without it getting gummy. So what I ended up doing is starting therapy back up. I found a really, really great therapist and she's helping me a lot. And I also got on some antidepressants because I don't know, y'all. I mean, between my life and the seasonal depression and everything, I was drowning. I was like, I gotta do something. That has been kind of my own very non-woo-woo like hard restart on, you know, just kind of getting myself back on the rails and understanding that like, it's not that you are winning or losing, or that you're like losing ground on your journey or whatever, you know, your woo-woo journey because you had to focus on other things in your life for a while. It's just like always something that you're kind of coming back to and getting to re-exercise those muscles and stuff. And to me, looking at it like that as something that you're kind of constantly returning to yourself is a lot healthier than being like, new year, new me. It's like, it's not this linear thing all the time. Okay, I do feel like that's nice. I think maybe now we go in with some of the powders and just see what happens. And then I might go in with like some Dior. I have no idea. I want to address the craving change portion of it because I also think that this time of year, God, I mean, everything is just dormant, right? At least in the Northern Hemisphere, like we're just in the middle of the suck of it. Actually, okay, it's basically I'm using the powder eyeshadow to set that cream, which is lovely. That's pretty smart. I'm using M18 and M2. M18 is the brown. I think that there can be change in ways because, okay, so what I did while I was painting a room blue today and also for the last week, I have listened, I think now twice all the way through to The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown because I'm just back on that Brene Brown stuff, y'all. I mean, it really works because she is not talking about some aspirational mindset. She's talking about studying individual people who have happiness kind of figured out, and then she's trying to figure out like what the patterns are. And that to me really sinks in. You're not sitting here being like, and you need to contact your spiritual self and find center, which there is a lot to that, you know, mindfulness practice, getting back in control of like your, like, you know, your thoughts and whatever, medication or otherwise. But like, there is also something really grounding about somebody being like, I'm kind of on this journey along with everybody else, and like here are some things that I've found that are human traits that I have observed in people, not things that are like these aspirational like perfectionist, like literally the opposite of that. So all of these colors are kind of running away from me right now. And are you seeing my lips turning a very different color than they started out with? It's just, it's giving wax lips. It's pretty uncomfortable because it's so spicy, and I feel feel like you lose the color because your lips just turn red. So it's not done doing what it's gonna do. We'll give it some more time, but that is my impression of them. It's a little bit disappointing. Okay, I'm gonna clean up with some of that pale beigey color. I do feel like this is gumming this Rephr brush up a little bit, kind of using the powder and the cream. I could be wrong. It might just be distributing, like it looks like it's just kind of soaking up a lot of product. But that might just be the brush. I'm not super familiar with the Rephr brushes. I'm loving the way that the finish is looking on my eyes. Like, look how smooth that is. That is like, my inner corner of my eye never looks like that. That's so nice. And I haven't been using like any actives. I'm not like burning the top layer of my skin off. But this blend is not great. I feel like the cream is still overwhelming the powders. Like kind of, I'm not sure that the creams are really my thing. And also I'm like mind blown by, even though I put brown on there, like it's still decidedly pink. Like it's very, very pink. So I want to kind of pull that back on the rails. I want to get a little bit more coolness. I did actually, I don't know if we've even talked about this. Do I want to do this? I wonder, because I went to Sephora and I bought, I don't know if that's the answer. Everything is so pink. It's almost like it's intentional. It's almost like I should go with it, you know? I don't know, I don't want pink face. It's my lips. My lips are just really taking over. I think if we change the lip, it's gonna be okay in the end. I want y'all to see the results of this, and I think we're gonna go with something else. So either way, this might be a detour that I'm doing this, but I went ahead and got the Scattered Light in Smoke from Hourglass, and it's just kind of this mood that I'm in lately. I don't know if you can tell. It's like all my clothes are this color right now. My bedding is this color. It's this like bedroomized Bambi color that I'm just super, super into. It's kind of this perfect neutral to cool grayish. Oh, I also, y'all, for everybody who'd been rooting for me to do it, I finally did it. I finally bought a pair of the Gani pointed toed flats for myself. It was like such a gift to myself. I was so excited because they finally came out with like a ton of colors in them, because they had white, black, red, snakeskin, and I had seen like a green pair in the Gani store in New York, but other than that, like none of those really was like, yeah, I want to drop the, you know, a kind of a large amount of money on them. And it's like, no, I needed them to be perfect. Then they came out with the perfect color for me. And it is this perfect grayish. They call it gray, but it's definitely like a warm beige gray. And it's just, it's the sexiest color. I don't understand why those shoes are so great, but I have been admiring them on so many people for so long that I'm so glad that they finally came out with a shade for me. I think that, let's see. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the, what do I want to do? I kind of want to pull something really cool into my crease. So I think I'm going to use Poncho from Dior. And I mean, we're gonna use something really, really tiny and try and get a very, very small amount just in the outer corner, because I just feel like it's so pink. I just wanna like calm it down. This is kind of chaotic, I know, but welcome to my channel. I'm going to use the Rephr 14 brush. The thing that I keep learning about the Rephr brushes is that smaller than you think. Just always go smaller than you think, because they pick up more product than you think. And so if you are used to, like I am used to, using synthetic brushes, they're going to pick up more product than you're expecting them to, and they're gonna spread it around more easily. So, okay, the thing that's going to unify this is Space Cowboy. That's what's going to happen, because Space Cowboy is this like perfect kind of beige that does have a touch of like a peachy pink to it. Space Cowboy from Urban Decay. Y'all, the words are not coming today, but yeah, that's gonna be sort of our unifying principle on the lid. Told you we were gonna land the plane. I didn't tell you we were gonna land the plane, but I told myself we were gonna land the plane. I just wanted something really like soft, but also a little bit of drama. And then I do want to take just a little bit of that underneath my eyes. What have we? This is the Singe Beauty E07. I don't even know what you would call that, but it looks like it's going to go underneath my eye well, you know? I think that one of my sort of aspirations for this year, besides wearing, actually it's the same thing. I've started a little campaign on my Instagram, you know, I've done a highlight of it, of like wear your closet, like wear your clothes, because I have such a great wardrobe, and I just realized that like I kind of just circulate the same few things. So I was like, wear your freaking clothes, like enjoy this wardrobe that you've spent, you know, probably way too much money on. I kind of want to wear my wardrobe in terms of my makeup more too. And I don't mean like a bunch of colors, but like pulling out Space Cowboy, even though it's not new by any means, it's just like, it's good. And just trying to remember what's good and what I enjoy regardless of when it came out. The lip is still uncomfortable. It takes about 15 minutes for it to completely cycle through the burning phase. And then it like very noticeably stops burning, but you're still left with the redness. I'm gonna take a little bit more of the Mod Beauty powder and just make sure that everything looks intentional here. I like that it's not super mattifying, and I like that it's not giving me a lot of like gray dullness, you know? It's a really good powder. Yeah, that lid is a little annoying, I will say. That lid is a little bit annoying. Okay, I'm gonna do my eyeliner and my mascara and my brows, but while I do, let's see. What are your thoughts on the Pantone color of the year? I am a huge fan of the Pantone color of the year. It is Peach Fuzz, and I will always be a fan of a beautiful milky peach color. I'm way into it. I hope that, and I know that it will, but I hope that we see a lot of those kind of peachy colors come through, either saturated or desaturated, so that everybody can wear them. But I want to see that in the spring. I think it's gonna be gorgeous. By the way, this is Victoria Beckham Cinnamon. This is like my absolute favorite thing right now, but I feel bad mentioning it because it's been out of stock lately. It came back in stock briefly and then it, sold back out again. And now they're raising their prices, I hear. You know, they made like an announcement that they're raising their prices, which I'm like, okay. The prices have been the same since 2019 when this brand started, but still girl, still, that's kind of bold. So I feel bad kind of mentioning it because it's like, it feels a little bit, just a little bit tender still. Like once the price changes and we all kind of are like, well, it is what it is, like I'll feel okay, but it's like right now it feels a little tender. What is your 2024 Chani year prediction? So Chani Nicholas is one of my favorite astrologers, although I didn't totally love in her forecast this year, and I don't know if she did this last year, but at least in mine, it was like, I'm gonna just tell you which months are good and which months are bad. Like she did that like before she talked about the nuances of any of it, and I was like, girl, like, that's gonna give people anxiety. Like the astrology is not like that big of a predictor of exactly how your life is going to go. I don't feel like scaring people like that is really necessary. It's not that serious. But mine was pretty good, you know. She's trepidatious about my August and my September, but it's for Cancer rising. I also wish that she would do it for your sun sign because I do identify more with my sun sign than I do with my rising, although that's delusional. That's like me when I was like sitting at dinner with all of my creator girlfriends. I was there with like, oh, Nicolette, Kiki, and Simbri, and Kelly. And I said, I have a secure attachment style, and they all busted out laughing. And I was like, oh my God. And Kelly, who speaks my language, goes, Kackie, your Venus is in Pisces. And I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, being a water sign rising does make sense for me, but I am hopelessly in denial about it. Let's do my brows. I like to think of myself as this like emotionless, impulsive Aries, and it's like, no, not necessarily. Although, oh my God, y'all, I'm just gonna tell you the story. So Steph from Beauty and Hyped came to visit me over Christmas. Like just, we went out and had dinner and stuff, and then she came back to my house. We were going through the astrology books that are like the secret language of birthdays and the secret language of relationships, which, you know, I put about as much stock into as I, you know, anything else, where it's like it's just a lot of generalizations. But there was this one section where it was like talking about your, like the week that you were born, but it was in the relationships one. And we were reading them out loud to each other, and they were like too honest. I was like, ouch. Like every time I read something about myself, I was like, so what's your point? You know what I mean? Because it was just like, you're like really impulsive, and a lot of people have trouble kind of like tolerating you, and any person that you need to be in a relationship with has to have a lot of patience. And I was like, God, I was like, this is brutal. But again, that was just based on the sun sign. So it's all about like the whole picture, and it's also about kind of like how it affects you because of where you are in your life. And I do feel like sometimes Channy's tone can be like, uh-oh, look out, the storm's coming for you and there's no avoiding it, you know? And it's just like, girl, like, I get it that you know what you're talking about, but sometimes your confidence is unnerving, you know? All right, let's curl my lashes. Let's curl my lashes with my Ciroc curler. I feel like this is just like the most khaki coated, like, makeup look to start the year off. It's like sparkly beigey pink eye, like groundbreaking. But we did get to try some new products, and I think we might pick a different lip. I might leave this one on actually. All right, let's see if I can talk while I do mascara. Your trip to see Tom. Yeah, we talked about it on the podcast, but that episode is not going to come out for a whole while because we're just kind of behind. So I went to see Tom over New Year's, and before I went, I was trying to find plans for New Year's, and I was like, hey, I kind of want to get out of town and whatever. So I just like voice memoed Tom, and I was like, what are you doing for New Year's? And they were like, oh, like we don't really do anything, you know, we usually just, you know, watch Bake Off and I don't know, just hang out. And I was like, can I come? I was like, that sounds really fun. I was there for 2 nights, and when I say I got fed in every way possible, it was just so glorious. I said before I went, I was like, look, I just want to dress up and look cute, and I want to eat really good food, because that is what I have gathered the most from talking to Tom about Pittsburgh, is like, they tell me about like the best sounding food all the time. And when I went to Philly and I got to meet their friend Kristen is like passionate about food, and she's an Aries also. And we got to talking about how we both have this funny trait where like we remember every great thing that we've ever eaten, like every really good meal that we've had, like remember like down to the, you know, the tasting notes of whatever was on the menu, you know? So I was like dying to go to a restaurant with her. And so we did. We went to a couple of different places, but the first night was unreal. It was this place called The Parlor, and I'm gonna blow up their spot because it is so good, y'all. It's dim sum. It is off the freaking charts. It's so good. And then Tom didn't tell me. I had no idea. We've been friends for, you know, the better part of a year now, and I had no idea that they were like an incredibly gifted baker. And so not only that, but they made me a bunch of gluten-free baked goods, and that was fantastic.
I can't believe I forgot to mention, I also, on my second night, dinner was also with a fellow creator, Rachel Ellen Rose, who I have talked to for years and years and years and years, and finally got to meet her in person, which was exactly like knowing her online. She's just as wonderful and delightful and fantastic, and we had just a really great time. It was like being among people who I had known for so long through the internet, but it didn't feel like I had known them through the internet. It felt like I had known them, you know, in real life for such a long time. So it was just fantastic.
And I also had the lovely pleasure of like getting to know Tom's roommate, Tiffany, who is a delight. So like, it was just one of the most enriching and heartwarming and lovely experiences, and it was like really exactly what I needed. It was like all the comfort, all the love, all the like fun, because, you know, we do what we love to do. We, you know, we got cute, we went shopping, we ate food, like it was just wonderful. And I just came back with my heart full. So it was perfect. It was like the perfect trip. I just can't thank them enough. It was wonderful. Here's the thing. The lips have run their course, and I've kind of changed my mind a little bit, because when I put them on before, I'll play the footage for you right now.
I gave it like 15 minutes for the actual tingling sensation to wear off, but what remains, I look wounded. Like, I just look like I got like lip injections, you know what I mean? Like everything just looks really irritated and weird. And it's really, really not pleasant feeling. This, ugh. It's unfortunate. What do I look like? I look like I'm wearing those wax lips.
So you can see that my initial reaction was based on putting it on with no other makeup. And so I did feel like they were giving wax lips. And that's because it's a very effective plumping formula. And I also was like, wow, this is really uncomfortable and stingy, but like, I'm kind of okay with it now. I think I'm gonna return the clear because I have no use for that but I'm gonna keep the brown because I already used it and they would have to throw it out anyway, but I have not even opened the clear. I've not swatched it, I haven't even opened the box. So I am gonna return that because like, it's just going to make my lips look red while it's irritated, while they're irritated by the lip gloss. But the brown I think is pretty enough to keep it. And if you like a spicy lip gloss and you can kind of tolerate that effect while it runs its course, it takes, like I said, about 15 minutes for it to like completely run its course, and then it becomes a nice kind of wearable plump where the color is a lot truer. I also like had this initial impression when I first put it on, I felt like it was doing something funny where the gloss was like so thick that it was kind of trying to grab, but what it's actually doing is it formed kind of a film on my lips, a film, if you will. Like, I feel like my saliva is not interacting with it. Does that make sense? Like, it's not getting wet in a really good way, and like I'm not getting any like white ring of death or anything. I kind of changed my own mind on this one, and that's why we play the game. That's why we play the game. So my initial impression still stands, and like I do think that everyone needs to know what this is really like, because it's not just like a Victoria Beckham lip gloss where you put it on, you're like, ta-da! But it is actually really nice. It's really nice. As I like wore it, I realized I like it a lot. I'm going to just touch up this little spot underneath my nose with the Jones Road pencil, because it's like, I feel like nothing else, everything's too like wet, nothing else will cover it. That's better. Okay, so yeah, those are final thoughts on the lip gloss, but let's talk about everything else real quick, which I think is just entirely Mom Beauty. So the thing here is I was incredibly surprised by everything that I used, except for the mauve blush. Like, the mauve blush was pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be, but this as a bronzer, game changer for someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, that being a bronzer color that exists somewhere as a bronzer for someone to find and buy, it's a really big deal, because there are people for whom there really are no bronzer colors, and this being like a lavender rosy bronzer is pretty cool. Like, I'm just glad that that exists. The cream eyeshadows lost me. The cream eyeshadows lost me. I will say that's like the first thing from Mauve Beauty that I'm like not 100% into. It just, what I've watched like Jamie French use cream eyeshadows. Like, she had an entire cream palette at one point that she was using, and it behaved exactly like this, where it just kind of spread for a really long time, and she's just very talented and she was able to do it. I just don't think it's very beginner friendly, because like it does kind of just keep going. I don't remember where I left off when the camera stopped, but basically like the creams don't love being set with a powder, and so I don't think they're particularly beginner friendly, but I don't think they're bad either. It's just like whether or not that's what you're expecting. It just wasn't for me. And then the YSL, this was I guess the only other new thing that I tried today, but this YSL primer, I'm into it. And I don't get excited about a primer that often. It's just a really interesting formula that gives me this like really fantastic blur that I didn't even know I needed. It's not dewy. You know, I'm usually into really, really dewy stuff, but this feels really secure without feeling mattified, and I feel like I could use less powder because of it. It's kind of nice. So anyway, y'all, feels like I left some stuff out. I don't know. This was like my first time back again, you know, filming one of these where I have this much going on. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, y'all, cool people subscribe. You should subscribe if you're cool. It would be cool if you did. I'll put a video up here that I think you'll enjoy if you liked this one, and I love y'all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.